When it's time to enjoy Christmas dinner this year, don't forget to sometimes think about the world around you and give your pets some extra love. It's sad to say, but on Christmas 2018, a heartbreaking and disappointing moment happened for a Staffordshire Bull Terrier in the UK. Snoop's owner left him outside with all the belongings, and someone filmed it on CCTV. As you can see in the video that's been making the rounds on social media, Paul is clearly heartbroken to be left all alone. A video of a man with their hand on a dog is uploaded. The video was filmed by someone sitting in the driver's seat. They step out and get into the back seat. Snoop was soon named the loneliest dog in the world due to this unfortunate situation. The RSPCA launched an investigation into Snoop's case after a passer-by discovered him sitting miserably alone on the street in the bed that his owner had callously thrown out with him. The vet scanned his microchip and traced two previous owners, but do not believe either are the current owners and therefore not those responsible for abandoning the dog. The veterinary staff nicknamed the dog Snoop thought to be 2 years old. Paul Snoop, who initially appears to have thought his owners were playing a game with him, tried desperately to get back in the car, even chasing after it in vain as they tried to drive away. His heartbreaking story is a timely reminder for anyone who is getting a new pet for Christmas. These animals are loving and loyal and truly suffer when you abandon them. If you really find yourself unable to handle the responsibility of properly caring for your pet, at least take them to a shelter where they can be looked after until a new home is found. These animals are loving and loyal and truly suffer when you abandon them. After going through so much in the public eye, however, Snoop finally had something to smile about. He's been adopted. His new dad, Lawrence Squire, couldn't be happier. One evening, Lawrence was watching the news when Snoop's story came on. Lawrence was utterly shocked at seeing the footage. He knew that he was clear in the way that he tried to get back in the car, that he was a loyal dog. Lawrence thought that he seemed like the perfect dog and that he could offer him the home he deserved. As soon as he came into the house for the first time, he jumped on the sofa, and it was as though he decided that that was the space for him. He loves to lie on the back of the sofa, and if Lawrence puts the fire on, he will curl up in front of it all cozy like a bug in the rug. Snoop is definitely loyal. So loyal, in fact, that his rescuers from the RSPCA say he's prone to separation anxiety. Luckily, Snoop's new dad works from home, so they're able to spend a lot of time together. Snoop settled in straight away, and his new life couldn't be any more perfect for him. The love and attention he is getting now from Lawrence is wonderful. Snoop is living like a king. Snoop is napping, playing, and running around just like the happy dog just he was always meant to be. Fernando and Jack, the first canines to ever be domesticated, also made a great sacrifice. From the moment of domestication onwards, dogs were no longer self-sufficient and depended on humans for survival. Just like human babies, dogs also require endless amounts of nurture, care, and love to prosper. The doggy in our next story was waiting for his human saviors for months alone, stranded on a tiny deserted island in the middle of the ocean. Luckily, the man came just in time to save his life. Fernando Mon likes to explore the remote islands of the coast of Paiva in his island. One day, the man was enjoying his weekly expedition 2.5 miles off the coast when he heard of a chilling and desperate whimper coming from a nearby tiny island. When Fernando got closer to the island, he saw a dog that was so thin he was almost indistinct. Fernando, who was shocked by the thought of someone abandoning the dog on the island, he knew he was his only chance of survival. While kayaking around the tip of an island, Fernando suddenly heard something familiar. He heard a whimpering sound and soon discovered a dog walking around the island. Fernando couldn't stand seeing the dog suffer, so he decided to paddle closer and help the abandoned dog get out of the deserted island. He eventually found a place to get his kayak ashore. Fernando spent some time looking for the dog, but as soon as the dog saw him, it was so happy that its tail wagged so fast with excitement and even ran around Fernando's legs. The dogs seemed to be greeting and thanking Fernando for coming to its rescue. However, when it was time to leave, the dog was very reluctant to get on board the kayak. The dog didn't know what to do. He wanted to hop on board, but it was very unsure about the boat. Whenever the dog put its paws on the kayak, it moved a little, which scared the dog. Fernando eventually decided to lift the dog onto the kayak and held him there for a few minutes to get used to the boat's rocking motion. The dog tried to jump back ashore and Fernando pushed out to the water, but luckily Fernando was able to hold onto the dog and keep him on the kayak. Fernando paddled back to the main island with the rescued puppy. Eventually, the dog was turned over to an animal rescue organization. The dog was very thankful that it couldn't stop licking Fernando's hands and jumping on him to give him puppy kiss. From the second Fernando set foot on the island, the lonely dog already seemed much happier and wagged his tail continually. Fernando, on the other hand, soon learned that getting the pooch off the island wasn't going to be an easy task. After spending months stranded on a tiny island, the dog developed a phobia of water and refused to go anywhere near the kayak. The dog didn't want the man to leave him alone on the island. He attempted to board the kayak a few times, but every time he placed one paw on the boat, he got scared and backed off. The man knew that the only way to save the pooch was to force him onto the kayak. He grabbed the dog and pushed his boat away from land as quickly as he could, fearing that the pooch will try to swim back. Once in open waters, the dog seemed much more relaxed and trusted the man to get him to safety. Fernando paddled his kayak for about 2.5 miles. The rescuers rushed the dog to the vet and found that he was dangerously malnourished and suffering from advanced mange. More than anything else though, the dog was starving for warmth, love, and affection, which he received plenty of from the staff at the shelter. 5 days after the heroic rescue mission, Fernando came to visit the dog, who's now named Jack by the staff at the shelter. Jack was so pleased to see his savior that he showered him with endless kisses and tail wags. The poaches first started to grow back, and he seemed overall much better now that he was in the company of other dogs and humans. Jack knew that if it wasn't for Fernando's persistence and kind heart, he probably wouldn't have made it off the island in the middle of the ocean. Moses. Some people argue that animals don't have emotions, despite the scientific evidence proving they are sentient beings. Working in an animal shelter opens up the floodgates to experience both happy and sad tears in a day. You encounter firsthand the sadness and desperation animals experience. The majority of animal shelters help provide safe housing for lost and stray animals. Unfortunately, they also give shelter to those who have been given up by their owners. Many animal enthusiasts, just like Nancy, volunteer their time. Nanny helps out at the West Coast Animal Shelter. She has seen many animals come and go, and sadly, not everyone is given a happy ending in their forever loving home. Nancy remembers the faces of those who went to their new home. One dog in particular stands out for her, and she can never forget the number of animals Nancy has seen, been given up. None have affected her more than Moses the dog. Moses was a breed of dog, often harshly rejected by families. He was a 4-year-old pit bull who was given up by his owners. This was the second time that Moses was rejected by his family. Pit bulls are often regarded as violent and aggressive dogs. However, not only is this a myth, but very prejudiced is what makes it so difficult to find them homes. Due to pit bulls being the most difficult to find a home, for they are most likely to be euthanized. Little Moses' chance was running out after being abandoned by another family. Nancy noticed how sweet Moses really was. She couldn't fathom how anyone could give him up. He had a very calm and loving demeanor. Moses deeply moved Nancy. He clung to his owner in a way that showed he knew what was happening and couldn't bear to let go. Nancy immediately stepped in and asked his owners why they were giving him. They informed Nancy that Moses was very affectionate and gentle. However, they were forced to give him up due to his change. In circumstances, the family were moving to a new home, one which didn't allow dogs. Moses clung onto his owners for dear life, as though he was begging them to stay. Nancy recorded the heart-wrenching moment. She posted the moving encounter online. The comments were buzzing with people criticizing the owners as well as throwing their support behind Moses. Everyone who heard about the story all agreed on one. They all wanted to see Moses have a happy ending. Thankfully, there was light at the end of the tunnel. Not long after, Moses was adopted by a family who had 2 small children. Although Moses got his fairy tale, there are still many dogs out there who haven't. This is why it's important to adopt, not shop. Do you agree? What would you do if you saw an abandoned dog? Let us know in the comments below, as we love hearing what you have to say. Thanks for watching. See you next time.